Welcome back once again to the Pitlane Pals Formula One podcast. In this episode, we're going to be recapping the Bahrain GP. Finally, we got a decent, entertaining race. And we thought, as a way to celebrate, we're going to stand up for this episode and go up in the world.
To show our excitement, we decided to stand up.
We were just so pumped up.
Yeah. We had to.
Yeah. But very, very good race. There was battles all around the track the entire time. In the midst of that, though, Piastri dominated. Piastri was just in a league of his own. And just looks like, I mean, honestly, he's been the best driver this year so far.
100%.
Lando is leading the championship after 4 races, but Oscar has more wins. I think is better performed overall at this point in the season. And I do think Oscar probably should be leading the championship right now. The fact that Lando's still leading baffles me actually a little bit. But I know that Oscar obviously had the shunt in Australia, which was his fault a little bit because of the rain.
Yeah.
And then, but I have faith coming in the coming weeks that Lando, or the coming races, that Lando will keep it interesting and hopefully fight back and be able to maintain his championship lead in McLaren this week. I mean, obviously we're McLaren fans through and through, so a McLaren driver winning is always a good day. But
I was about to say, yeah.
But part of me, just because of the fact that like Oscar has a little bit, I think, again, he's a bit more maybe naturally talented, admittedly, and probably has more chances throughout his career. I think this is Lando's window.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I could pick either one to win the championship, just like as a fan, I would go towards Lando a little bit, just because I think like Oscar could win again in the future. This is Lando's window this year. And if he doesn't do it this year, then if he has Oscar and the McLaren say they nail it again in the new regulations at some point, or years down the line, they get a good car again that's competing for championships, I think Oscar will just be too experienced at that point, admittedly. So I think this is Lando's window to get the championship done. But we'll have to see. I think it'll be a very interesting season at this rate, at least between those two.
For sure.
But
for sure,
it does make me think one thing, which is just like every race this year and last year, and a lot of them, there isn't usually a big fight for the lead. And even though this was a great race, there wasn't a fight for the lead.
Yeah. True.
Pole position in this era of cars is just such a massive advantage. Leading into turn 1 makes the difference because everybody else is dealing
100%.
with dirty air, and the leader isn't. And because the dirty air is just so bad with these newer cars nowadays, it's so hard to catch up to the leader. And that is just one thing I've noticed. And while the racing was great in Bahrain, it could have been that much better with a fight for the lead. Obviously, you could say Lando could have qualified better. Maybe there would have been a bigger fight for the lead. I don't know. But everybody else is just dealing with dirty air the whole time. And so the leader can just kind of smoothly go away. His tires will be better. That's just something
for sure.
A slight complaint. I don't know. But not a complaint.
You can catch your breath now. I feel like you had to bubble up for a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I got my water.
Let me just pull it back a second to what you just said about Piastri, about him being probably a bit more naturally talented. I wouldn't actually say he's that more like racing wise talented. I would just say his natural ability to perform under pressure and to actually deal with pressure is just something where Norris is struggling a lot. And it's something that
always has
shows every single he always has. He's came in and he said himself he was struggling a lot with confidence. I believe he actually started seeing a therapist at the beginning of this F1 time because the pressure just came too much, just became too much for him. And Piastri is just, I mean, he's the type of guy where you never really know if he's actually been feeling something. And that's why he's always compared to Kimi Räikkönen.
I saw a clip on Twitter, which was like Piastri on the podium, and it said, "This is the happiest I've ever seen him." And Piastri was literally on the podium like this.
Yeah. And like it goes to show because there was a moment in the race which I believe was really funny. Piastri had like a radio call with the engineer, and the engineer told him, "Press drink, don't forget to drink." And he was like, "I would if I could." And he's like into this race. It's been at least 30 laps now. Bahrain is super hot, a really, really difficult race. And the guy hasn't even said anything. Nothing. Nobody knew about it. The mechanic, the engineers thought he wasn't drinking because he forgot about it. But no, the guy couldn't drink and he has not said a single thing about it.
I know. And it's funny too, because in the cool down room, George and Lando were the first ones to take their clothes off. I don't know if you saw that, but they were just like instantly had to get that race suit off. They were so hot. And Piastri, meanwhile, kept his on and was suffering with no water. I know Lando typically doesn't drink during races anyways, so maybe he wasn't drinking regardless. That's something
I feel like a lot of drivers don't actually drink that much during the race.
It's hard to remember to drink.
I saw like videos about this. Not only that, but they have a special mixture they're drinking. They're not drinking purely water, right? They have like a mixture of like electrolytes and stuff like that to get them to perform better. And since the drinking, like where they store this electrolyte mixture is rather close to the engine and the whole car gets hot, it gets warmer throughout the race. And if you were to think about racing in a car that quickly, having like a straw close to your mouth which squirts out like a lukewarm electrolytes mixture, it's not really too enjoyable.
Yeah.
And I swear a lot of F1 drivers have actually complained about this, how the mixture they're drinking is just
abysmal.
not drinkable at some point. Yeah,
Like,
and how they should change it.
Yeah, like I don't know. I mean, water is the best medicine, and I don't know what I mean. Maybe what do I know? But like, I feel like maybe they'd just be better off with just water. But again, I'm not a doctor. I'm just a guy with a podcast.
We've got no clue about what they're supposed to be drinking, but who has got less clue about how to actually show a great race are the producers behind this F1 circus. What a terrible transition.
Oh my God. No, you're right though. Yeah, I was like, where are you going with this? Yeah.
Right. So I think we should cut them some slack for a bit, because I believe, I'm not sure, and I might be wrong about this. The timing screens are made up with transponders in the car, I believe. And I think this is why there was also a DRS issue, because the transponders got too hot, so they started to malfunction, which could be the cause why the timing screens couldn't be displayed well at all. I'm not really sure about this. It's just a theory, so no clue.
Yeah.
But it has been a remaining issue with watching F1 that either sometimes, as we said this at the beginning of the season, the timing screens are missing, or they're on the gap from the first to last for like 3 minutes. And who cares who cares about the gap from the first person to the last person? I don't want to see that. I don't care how far away Max Verstappen is from, I don't know what, Bortoleto or something. I want to see the distances. I don't even know why we have that view.
Yeah.
It seems unnecessary.
And there's a reason I'm sitting here on a podcast and not in a classroom doing math right now. I'm not quick with my math. And so when I'm seeing 20 seconds, 25.8, I'm like, whoa. How far? Give me a second, I can think about it. But when the numbers are constantly changing, I don't know what I'm looking at. And then on top of that, it felt like during the race, because Russell's transponder was broken, they just decided you don't get to see anything because this is bad. There was even pictures of like the track map where Russell's car was just off the circuit. Like, it just wasn't on the track at all. So I don't know what went wrong in Russell's car.
There must have been some malfunction for sure with the transponders. 100%.
Absolutely. But it seemed like it was mostly a Russell issue, given the fact that when Lando got in the DRS of Russell, they were like, don't press the button unless you're absolutely positive you have DRS.
It was not only Russell. I actually sent you a clip of this. I saw something on Instagram. There's actually a video of Leclerc in a corner accidentally quickly opening the DRS and closing it.
Oh, really?
Like where you weren't even allowed to open the DRS.
That was when he was behind. That's when he was behind Russell, though.
I don't know. I
So
don't know if
that's what I'm
like,
thinking, is that they had to override it because Russell's wasn't working, and so you couldn't see the gap to Russell is what the perception I was getting, at least. And again, I'm just sitting here discussing it,
I mean, could be.
and I haven't seen a ton of stuff
Could
on
be,
it
yeah.
afterwards. But I'm saying, like, so if they were telling Lando, don't open the DRS unless you absolutely know, that's because they probably had to override his as well, because they couldn't see the gap to Russell, unless they all had issues. But I also think it's likely that Russell had the issue, so they all had to override their buttons when they were behind Russell to make sure they could actually use DRS when within DRS range. But ultimately it
Fair,
didn't matter
yeah.
because Lando finished behind Russell anyways, and they decided that Russell only ended up gaining two 1,000ths of a second from opening the DRS for a second, and then let off the pedal and lost 28 hundredths. So
Yes.
they shouldn't have penalized him for it. They didn't. So
No.
yeah, I think it was the right call on that regard. But that was definitely like, we are at the pinnacle of motorsport, and this is the bullshit we're dealing with. It's like, oh, and then on top of that, the pinnacle of motorsport also has pit stop lights that aren't working for Verstappen
That
or
was
Tsunoda.
so random.
Because those lights,
So random.
for those who don't know, are supposed to go off whenever all the guns are in place, the wheels are locked in. Like it's an automatic thing. It's supposed to know when the guns have all locked into place or whatever, that he should be able to drive. And it's an automatic system. Nobody's pressing that button, and it was just stuck on red for Verstappen, and then was flashing yellow for Yuki. So clearly was just completely busted overall as well, because their other light on the side was also busted and doing the same thing. So I don't know how that happens. That's just like one of those things to me that just like baffles me. We've got
super weird.
We've got like VAR technology in soccer, football, whatever you want to call it, that tracks offsides to like the meter, like to the precise point. And we can't get racing light or pit stop lights that work in Formula One. But
I mean, they work normally, and I think it was actually kind of funny to see how Tsunoda's mechanics, because Verstappen came in first, right? Tsunoda's mechanics had like a smaller version of the same light that they were like carrying. Like it was on the side of the pit box. They had like the small version of it, which is still connected.
Oh, that's what I was saying. Yeah, the other light, it wasn't working either.
It didn't work either.
Yeah.
Didn't work either.
Just like,
so they were screwed.
I don't know how that happens, but
But like Max was also kind of lucky at the same time, because imagine he was held because of traffic. Like, I mean, the chances are low, right? It's not gonna happen. But imagine there are 3 cars coming, and he's held because of traffic, and he's not really seeing them because rear view mirror is obviously blocked by the pit crew. And then he's like, okay, this is taking too long. I'm just gonna go. And then there's traffic. Like, I mean, he made the right call. I'm not saying
it could have been worse.
It
could have been worse.
It could have gone wrong for sure.
And same for Tsunoda, who ultimately went as well. Very, very weird. Weird technical difficulties all around. And just a very chaotic race in general. While we're on the Yuki Tsunoda topic, him and Sainz had an incident. Which Sainz was saying should have been investigated, but they called it a racing incident. And I've seen the clip several times since then. It looks like a racing incident.
It was a racing incident.
Tsunoda slid a little bit and lost his rear end, but Sainz also, I think, was just anticipating too much that Tsunoda was going to go out when he came in, and kind of also drove into Tsunoda at the same time while Tsunoda was sliding and unable to pull away. So I think it was just a racing incident. It's just something that happens. The Williams camp will probably argue otherwise. But a big chunk was taken out of Carlos Sainz's car, and Sainz had a disaster of a race. I mean, just a disaster of a race from beginning to end. Did not work in his favor at all. And that definitely getting a chunk taken out of his side did not help. And a race that could have been his first points with Williams ended with him retiring because of the damage, and that does suck. On the other hand, Yuki did get his first points with Red Bull, which I guess is
nice.
That's good.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Can we clap? Yeah, my mic is in my hand, so it's a little difficult. But no, very excited for Yuki on that regard, because it also was a race where Red Bull clearly wasn't that quick. And so, because Max only finished P6 barely by beating Gasly on the the last stretch of the last lap. And you could argue that Alpine almost looked a little quicker than the Red Bull yesterday. And Tsunoda was able to still bring in points. That's a good performance for his confidence, and hopefully, I mean, he's the first Red Bull driver to score points in the first Red Bull driver in the second seat to score points since like 6 or 7 total races ago, because Sergio Perez ended with 2 DNFs, lost and DNF'd, and then had a P12 after some pit stop stuff, and then Tsunoda came in.
I believe it was actually Vegas
the last time.
last year with the second
that would make sense, because Perez had a decent race in
Red
Vegas.
Bull got points. Yeah. But something weird that actually happened throughout the Grand Prix, which now looking back, I can't help to overlook. There was a safety car, right? Because of the situation with Sainz, they had a little crash. There was a lot of debris on the track. Why didn't they deploy a virtual safety car to keep the gaps normal?
Yeah,
This wasn't like a massive pileup. It was turn 1 basically, turn 1, 2, where the stuff was lying around, but they decided to take out a full safety car, even though they do have the VSC. Where I'm like, okay, are they trying to make it more enjoyable for us to watch, to remove the gaps? What's happening here? Because the VSC is always like something where I'm just like, okay, I mean, we could also get a normal safety car and make it more interesting, but for debris on the track,
and for the amount of debris,
it
wasn't like a ton of debris. Like, they weren't even like,
it was just like a bit above the radiator. It was like a small chunk. And
that did feel unnecessary. And it was weird too, because they waited a minute to bring out the safety car in general. Like, the debris was on the track for a minute.
Exactly.
And then they decided to pull out the safety car. So that was weird. The FIA
was really weird.
Has just been weird. This is gonna sound really weird to anybody who's of an older crowd of our audience that isn't like brain rotted in Gen Z, but there was an FIA clip that I sent you on TikTok. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but this is the Italian brain rot stuff where it's like tung 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 sao, and they posted this clip on the official FIA TikTok account of like this Italian brain rot, like this stick with a bat. It sounds insane, but I promise you can go to their account. It's there. And I was like, this is the problem. This is the bullshit you guys are doing. And I know that the FIA account is probably just run by some fucking 19-year-old intern or whatever, but like, this is the bullshit. You guys can't ignore how shit you are at your jobs by posting, oh look, we're hip and cool just like you. Like, fucking no, you guys are bad at your jobs.
No, you're not.
And I know the entire group of stewards is like old men, so you guys aren't hip and cool. Stop it. Stop.
Yeah. I mean, they're getting older by the second. I mean, they literally missed Hulkenberg's massive mistake.
Oh yeah, so. We did talk about that in the preview. But yeah, that was just weird shit. They're always up
fucking
always up to no good over there at the FIA. Yeah, but we briefly mentioned it. Pierre Gasly had a stellar race, and a stellar qualifying. And honestly, I wish he finished higher than he did. He gave it his all and defended against Max like his life depended on it for several laps there at the end of the race. And I wish we could have seen the overtake live, but they decided not to show that on TV for some reason.
They do that a lot.
They do that a lot. They just miss a lot of good shit.
It's so weird. And it's like it was I believe it was after the safety car restart where there was just a lot of overtakes going on in general, a lot of close calls, and just in the middle of it, they showed the replay again, and we were sitting there, and I mean, I think you said it. You were like, I mean, we just fucking watched it. We don't have to watch it again.
Yes,
let us see the current.
I saw
action.
it. I was there. It was live. I saw that happen. They just cut away replays way too much, and I get it to a degree, but my biggest pet peeve with Formula One when it comes to the broadcasting every week, they do it every week. By the middle of lap 2, usually, we're watching the restart or we're watching the start of the race again. when all these cars are still
Yeah.
close together. There's battles going on track. The race just started. They are wheel to wheel right now, and I'm watching the start happen. I just saw it happen, and I feel like they're like trying to give us a moment to breathe. But I don't want to breathe. I'm here for the chaos. Let me watch this bullshit that's going on. Like, and we could talk about the broadcasting. It's been an issue for years, and it just gets worse. It feels like it just gets worse, and I don't know why. It makes the sport very difficult, probably to watch for new viewers too.
Yeah.
When it's like,
Yeah.
oh, we're cutting to all these replay. It's great. We don't have to deal with commercials with Formula One, which is amazing, like you would with IndyCar or NASCAR in America, because we're very consumerist over here.
In Germany, we still have to.
Really, you have commercials? Oh shit!
Ad breaks. We have ad breaks in between the qualifying sessions.
Oh, we have ad breaks between the qualifying sessions, but I have F1 TV. But like, if the session's going on, there's no stoppage.
If sometimes there will be like an advertisement popping in, like it basically like closing down a bit.
Oh,
like going
that's what they do in
smaller,
NASCAR and
there's, like,
IndyCar. That's that bullshit.
ad thing around it. But it's in Germany because Sky Sports owns all the F1 rights. So
Yeah, but
and they add the ads in.
when I watch,
so there's not really much we can do.
like when I watch on TV in America, I'm also getting Sky Sports on ESPN, which is a British. Sky Sports is British, so we're also leasing it out on regular TV. I just have F1 TV, so I haven't watched it in a long time. But I never got commercials like popping out like that unless it was a middle between qualifying sessions or there was a red flag or something. Otherwise, it's straight shot, like you would with like a football match or something. But yeah.
But I have to come back to these editing issues with F1 and like the replay issues. There's one thing they have improved this race, which they would normally do, which I have always hated, is in the last lap and the last few turns, normally you would always see the leading car.
Oh, yeah,
Always.
yeah.
And they did do that differently this time. They did only show the small view of Piastri in the last few corners. And I prefer, I mean, respectfully, we're at a point where most of the time there's way much more going on around the track than what's going on in the front. So we don't really want to see the leading car in the last few corners. I mean, if there's something interesting, sure. But I swear there was something in Monaco, I believe, or some other racetrack, where there were literally two people fighting, but only because you have to show the leading car in the last few corners, they cut away to the leading car. And luckily, this time, thank God, they did not. So there's some improvement, but that also took them 15 years to figure that out. So
Yeah, way too long. I don't know. I feel like I could do a better job with the broadcast over at Sky Sports than they do with it, but who am I to say? Yeah, we also had both the Haas score points. Behrman had a stellar race from P20 to P10, and beat his former teammate Kimi Antonelli, which I thought was interesting in the Mercedes. Which Kimi Antonelli, love you dearly, but Jesus, I took a shot and that did not hit on my predictions. But we'll talk about that at the end of the podcast. But
my predictions didn't hit either.
Yeah. But Oliver Behrman had a fantastic weekend. I just can't go without saying that. Like him and Antonelli both look like stars. I mean, Antonelli's had better race weekends. He did get a weird strategy though that I wasn't a big fan of.
And the safety car messed him over.
Yeah. And so
the safety car was a big issue for him and Doohan as well.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna. It's not fully his fault, but he had just a rough race overall. But Behrman, stellar race from Behrman. We have to talk about, though, we talked about Yuki having a great race. Verstappen seems very frustrated with the state of that car, which I do think is funny, how quick he is to become so angry. I mean, Lewis went from winning, getting the championship loss in 2021, and then went to the terrible new Mercedes car and the new regulations where they were suffering quite a bit, which is what led him to go to Ferrari ultimately. But he seemed a lot more patient with it still than Verstappen has even been just in the last half a year or so, with him not winning you just won last weekend, dude. And the race today was so rough that it's apparently sparked a meeting between Marco Horner and a couple other team personnel, higher ranking team personnel over Red Bull. And I know there's a lot more to this with the team dynamic and everything that's happened since Christian Horner had his thing go down, and everything has kind of shit hit the fan last year at the beginning of last year, and it seems like it's kind of continued on that path. I think winning the Constructors Championship helped postpone that, but I think it's coming back to life now where they're struggling, and it does not look like they might win either championship this year. And so it's sparking some conversations again. We talked about this at the beginning of the year. Where could Verstappen go? Aston, maybe, if they can.
Aston Martin.
I think... But here's what I thought was interesting. I think Max needs to keep his cool a little longer because I think the best move for Max Verstappen, if there is a world where Max Verstappen leaves Red Bull, don't do it this year. Don't do it next year. Wait. Finish this year out. Finish next year out. See where the cars are at in the 2026 regulations and then jump ship. Because otherwise you're taking a big gamble on who's going to get that regulation right in 2026. You don't know right now. If you can jump ship, though, after you know, and anybody will take Max Verstappen on for the most part, Aston Martin could bomb the new regulations. Adrian Newey's over there. He's going to do a great job most likely, but you don't know. It could be a gamble. New regulations are always a gamble. So I think you got to ride this year out. You got to ride next year out. Unless he just wants to hang it up and go to WEC like he's talked about doing before. But otherwise, I think he might be better off, honestly, waiting it out. Just because I think you just don't know.
His time is ticking, though.
Is it, though?
His time is ticking. Cause
he's still very young.
He's still very young, but there's a kid on the way.
Yeah.
I don't. Is the kid on the earth yet? I don't know if he or she has been born. I don't know. But that's always something where he said, like, he never said he would draw the line, but something where he could see himself retiring because of, which I fully get. I mean,
yeah,
F1 is dangerous. It's way less dangerous than it used to be, but
it reminds me of
still not a fairy tale sport.
It reminds me of the comment from Fernando Alonso when he overtook Michael Schumacher at Suzuka, when Alonso was still at Renault, and they go, what sparked you to make that move? He goes, well, I knew he had a wife and kids at home, so I knew he hit the brakes. It does affect your driving, definitely. I think when you have a kid back home. So I guess I do see that point, but it is still Max Verstappen, so I don't want to. Well, that might be a conversation I'd have when I know how he's been performing. Like if I can go, oh, we've seen a drop in Verstappen's performance in the coming years, or whatever, and I could be like, oh, maybe it's because of the kid, but I'm not going to assume it's going to happen because he is still Max Verstappen. I almost just knocked my computer over.
Just saying. I feel like we sometimes forget about this. There is this coming.
There's a personal life to it for sure. And one of the reasons Lewis was so good for so long is because he never had a child. He hasn't even got married. He doesn't even have a girlfriend, I don't think. I think that man's 40 years old and just rocking with it, which, fair enough. Kudos.
Bro's 40 years old and has a dog. So
hey, I'd be the same way, to be fair. If I was in Formula 1, I'm not doing anything else. Like, I'm full set on Formula 1. And that is what makes an 8-time world champion an 8-time world champion.
I think I would love to have a family at some point. I think if I were to be in F1,
like,
this is great now. This is great content. This is perfect.
We're on the fucking
two people.
We're on like a therapy podcast now.
No one gives a shit about this right now.
Nicholas, breaking news: Nicholas from the Pitlane Pals Formula 1 podcast would like to have a family one day. Ladies, sign up.
I meant as a Formula 1 driver.
Yes,
because you said you're.
But I would say.
Moving on.
I would say if yes, when you're retired. But if I was, I'm saying I get what Lewis Hamilton's doing, but I also could get how it might affect Verstappen in the future. But yeah, I don't know where I see that going yet. But I think if they're not going to act on impulse and they act on logic, which I know Verstappen is a very smart person. He usually plays his cards right. He will wait to make a move, for a couple of years.
Yeah,
I think.
I can't believe you just advertised me.
I had to do that. Anyways. Another person who had a really tricky race this week was Liam Lawson. And I feel bad for the guy because he got what, 2 penalties? 1.5, 1.10 seconds or something?
And you talked about this in the media pen after the race, and I mean, obviously, we know this, right? I do like Lawson quite a bit. But it's getting hard to like the guy, I guess. It's just he said he wasn't able to overtake any other way because the pace advantage was so bad that he had to pull out a dive bomb. And that's just something which
It's
is
just
not
like
not,
you
not
gotta
true.
take some
You
accountability.
can't only exactly you can't only overtake on track, especially on a track like Bahrain. You can't say, yeah, I can only overtake with dive bombs and then just do it, crash 3 times, get 2 penalties. Like, come on, guys, that's not the way to go, and we know this. Like,
Yeah,
what are we doing here?
Lawson's really gonna need to step it up because we know how ruthless Red Bull is. If he doesn't start competing with Hadjar on a more consistent basis, I wouldn't put it behind Red Bull or past Red Bull to say he's out of the seat by the end of the year. It's early in the year,
but I think he has the year though.
he has
still
the year. Yes, I think he has the year absolutely, and I think he deserves the year. We've seen good things from Lawson in the past, but one, I think he needs to get his act together. I think he needs to get his mindset right that, you aren't above criticism. You aren't above making a mistake, and it's okay. Yes, losing your seat was probably a big shot to your confidence, but you can't act like it was just not your fault or that you're above that. You need to make sure you take it and you just go and be better from it. Because if he doesn't start locking in, if Red Bull gets rid of him, I don't see anybody else taking him. He won't have that much on his resume, and at that point, he would have had the year. A full year under his belt, and if he's not competing with even Isaac Hadjar, who's a rookie in his first year, then there's just who's going to jump on that opportunity. So I wish the best for Lawson, but he does need to step up his pace because it's just not looking great right now. I mean, it's bad every week. Every week is just bad. He has. Yeah. I mean, if we don't even segment them into two places, if we're just segmenting his time, we combine the Red Bull races and this in the same category. He's been abysmal every race weekend, so far this year.
I mean, he wasn't really lucky in qualifying with the DRS issues.
I know, but
I'm not. I mean, I like the guy, but I'm not going to be defending him over my body. Yeah. So it's true. He hasn't been performing.
Again, Tsunoda's able to score points. Again, he's not like flying, and again, that Red Bull probably you would think. I think we've definitely been proven right on both aspects, that Yuki was probably the right choice right now, but also that Red Bull isn't a great car and Max is just getting a lot out of it. I think both of those things are true because Yuki's still even fighting for points. And Verstappen's just that guy. So maybe that car really where it is a fighting for points car, that's where it's at. Yeah. But Yuki beat Lawson both in the RB and in the Red Bull. So I think that was the right choice. The Red Bull definitely still needs some work, and hopefully Yuki and Max's experience can help get it to a point where it's competitive again for both of their sakes. But, just Lawson has been a little disappointing to start the year, and Hadjar has been very impressive. Not to knock Hadjar down by just saying, like, oh, it's just because Lawson's underperforming. He's very much performing.
No, he's been impressive. He's been very impressive.
Very much performing. For sure. But just had to mention that because rough weekend for the man in the RB. But Doohan did have a good race. He probably arguably maybe should have got his first points if he didn't get screwed by the safety car. I felt really bad for him. He had a great weekend, and I don't think that should go unnoticed either just because he finished P14. I think overall we saw a lot of progress from Doohan this weekend, and hopefully that'll continue into Saudi Arabia next week. But we did see, I would argue, I was very happy to see the progress from Doohan we saw. I think overall, outside of some questions about Lawson, just all the rookies overall, Lawson rookie, whatever you want to say, whether he is or not, but just on that, they've all been very impressive. The grid is very much in good hands. The future of F1 is very much in good hands. I think as long as Doohan can keep progressing on that trajectory, Hadjar's been great. Antonelli's been fucking amazing. Berriman's been amazing. And as we see some maybe older guys step out of the sport soon in the coming years, maybe Fernando Alonso will finally hang it up with the performance of the Aston Martin. I think Fernando, for some reason, will ride it out to 2026. Just to see if the car's good, and then he'll be like, okay, then he'll be like, okay, no, this is I'm done. I'm done. Yeah. I think he just wants that win. I think he just wants one more win. And
Yeah, but it's not going to happen in Aston. It's
Well,
not going to happen. And he's
they
probably not
have
gonna be
Adrian
even there
Newey.
for.
So maybe they get the
do, but
regulations
they have-
right.
Well, you can't forget. You can't forget, right? Even if they were to test the car, yes, they would have Alonso and amazing feedback, 100%. Stroll's not going to give you anything important.
Yeah, but
I mean, he's not even able to in the media pen asked about a terrible weekend. He's like, yeah, we'll just go on to the next one.
yeah, it's like what I talked about last
week.
weekend. Like, what does Stroll do? Like, what does he do? Like,
I don't know.
P17 for the Stroll.
I cannot
for
tell
Mr.
you.
Stroll. He's not even like fighting for anything. That's the thing too. Is it's like, you know, even these other cars that run at the back of the grid, Hülkenberg and Bortoletto, they both are trying to, you know, make sure they keep their seats for Audi coming in. Bortoletto's trying to prove against a veteran that he can compete. Hülkenberg's trying to prove he still got it, you know.
It's just I feel like Aston Martin currently on the grid is that team where it's like, I will bring it up again. It's going to your friend's house and it's that dog that's almost dead.
Oh, good job, buddy. Good job, buddy. Yeah, no, it is very. I don't know what they're doing in general, but you know, I get Alonso's just riding it out, whatever. But Stroll is just not even competing for anything. He's just because he's never going to lose the seat because his dad owns the team.
Exactly.
And then
there's no stake.
There's no stake in it. So he's just driving. He's just doing sightseeing in the car, like I said last weekend. And I think that's going to continue for the rest of the year. And Stroll is just one of those guys, man. Like he's been on the grid for so long for no reason, and it's insane. But yeah, it'll always baffle me. It'll baffle everybody for a long time, I think. But yeah, I guess we probably covered most of the interesting topics on the grid after the race here.
It's time for
a little prediction recap.
A very embarrassing moment.
A little prediction recap. Okay, so we had some very unfortunate race predictions. Although actually mine weren't that bad, but we'll talk about his in a minute.
Mine were
yeah.
They were pretty shit.
I've had worse for sure. Worse weekends, like last weekend. My first race prediction was that Lando Norris would finish on the podium starting from P6, which he successfully did, luckily, for me. And I mean, I could have kind of seen that coming, but like it's not a given where he was starting, and it's Lando Norris, and it's not like I can't just be like, oh, absolutely. It's very, sometimes it's Norris. My second race prediction was that Yuki Tsunoda would finish in the points, score his first points with the Red Bull this weekend, which he did. And I did predict that after he was already qualified P10, but I figured, who knows with that Red Bull car. But he did it. He successfully did and got P9. And my last race prediction was a shot in the dark that I did not think was going to land. Thought maybe hypothetically could, and they would be like, whoa, no way he got that right, but did not happen. Was that Kimi Antonelli would finish his first time, he would finish on the podium for the first time in his career, which did not happen. It was a shot in the dark, which is funny because you did want to say that, and I should have just let you have it, but I didn't, and then I have eaten my words. But I went for two for three this week, which is not too bad. I'm okay with the result.
So
now
this week, because I actually had a pretty good prediction streak. I was doing pretty well, but this week I decided to put a K in, and I didn't do too well. My first prediction, which I hate myself for because I added it on at the back and I just thought, fuck, why did I do that? But I predicted that Lando Norris would be finishing the race in P2. At first, I wanted to say on the podium, but you had that, so I couldn't. And so I thought, he'll get the 1-2. And he would have if he would have just gotten into the starting grid, which we forgot to talk about, but that's okay. I mean, he just
we did forget to talk about that.
He missed the starting grid, but
yeah.
That's nothing much to say about that. Second prediction is that I thought Gasly would not finish inside the points. Gasly finished inside the points, and
this was a weird one from you. I don't know what this was.
Third of all was that I thought Doohan would get his first points, but he did not get his first points. So I went 0 for
What was
3.
weird about that with those predictions was that I feel like Doohan could have scored points and Gasly could have finished outside the points, but both of those things were not going to happen at the same time. Like it was either one or the other. I don't think if Gasly finished in the
it
points,
happened the wrong way around. Don't hate the player, hate the game.
I just don't think that either of those things, like they could have never both happened. They could have like Doohan would have if Doohan finished in the points, Gasly was definitely going to finish in the points. You know what I mean? Because that means that Alpine was quick.
What if it would have happened?
I would have eaten my words, but I was baffled at that prediction. It just made no logical sense. You can't have both of those. Maybe one of them. But also, why are you hating on Gasly? He's getting that tractor across the line, driving like Prime, Ayrton Senna out there in a tractor. So
you never know with the guy. Gasly is like, one race he's going to be like Ayrton Senna. The next one you'd think he's fucking Stroll. So it's like...
No, but that's not his fault. That's the Alpine. That's the Alpine. Some weekends the Alpine's good. Sometimes it's not. Like it's a boat. Sometimes.
God, when they next time it rains, you already know it's Alpine podium coming in. They make bomb ass boats.
Yeah, that was crazy when they got the double podium finish in Brazil. Yeah, that was really that was wild. But wild. I don't know. I don't like this Gasly slander from you. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know why you're a Gasly hater.
I'm not a Gasly hater. I just thought
a fantastic driver.
Might as well try.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening to this episode of the Pitlane Pals Formula One podcast. If you did enjoy, make sure you follow us on Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and all the places. And yeah, we'll probably be back later this week at the end of this triple header. We can finally get a little break after we're finished with Saudi Arabia. And we'll just have the preview coming to you later this week and then the review after that. So thank you all for listening and goodbye.
Goodbye.